Welcome to the Ben and Walker Movie Show. I'm your co-host Ben Davis, joined by my other co-host Walker Holt, and we're excited to have a conversation with you about one of our favorite things in the world: popcorn buckets and spice. If this is your first time being here with us, welcome. We are so glad to have you. And while you're here, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the latest content that we have for you guys. And while you're here, and if you enjoy your time with us, please give us a like, share us around, and of course, comment down below with your thoughts on today's show. That helps us out a lot. This is our weekly show called What We're Watching, where we discuss what we've been watching to let you guys know if it's a must see, a go see it, or rent it, or just to skip it. Now that I got that down out of the way, Mohadib, how are you doing, sir?
Doing good, thanks. Been a great weekend, or kind of. Part of it's been great. Saw a nice little indie film on Thursday night, opening
What,
night.
oh, what movie was it?
Yeah, you probably haven't heard of it. I think it's probably just playing in our market. Timothy
Probably.
Chalamet project.
Of course.
Uh,
Indie darling.
been moving or selling a property this weekend, so we're moving the guy we own the property with all his stuff over to a different one, and that's been kind of annoying. Downtown on street parking, second floor. So I'm tired and sore. Got more of it to do after we're done recording here, but all good things. Hopefully it'll all be
Oof.
worth it. How's your weekend going?
Oof. Oof. Not bad, man. It's been a pretty good weekend. Zoe had a play date yesterday and had fun at the park. It's a good time. Good time. They're always weekends are always too short though, man. They're always a little too short.
But they really need to be 3 days. I mean, like, I don't know who needs. I mean, I'm not asking for too much. I don't need it to be flip flopped where we have 2 day weeks and 5 day weekends. 3 day weekend. You need a day. You just got to have a day to for fun. Like you got to have a day to enjoy yourself. Like, hey, we're gonna go.
Hmm.
Maybe depending on what fun is for you. Maybe it's go out on the boat all day. Maybe it's travel somewhere. Maybe it's see a concert. Maybe it's party. Maybe it's have friends or do just have a fun time. Then you need a day to like catch up on stuff that's hard to get done during the week. Chores, laundry, dishes, trash, yard work. I mean, be a productive day that is tough to do on a work day. And then you need a day to do nothing. You need a
Yeah.
relaxing day to regenerate. You just I mean you have to choose 2 out of 3 of those every time. And if you choose relax, you're a lazy bum. If you choose to be productive, you're annoyingly like a workaholic. If you choose to party, well, I mean, then you are an idiot. I don't know. Like it's you can't you they make you choose, and you it's hard to have like a balance. We need 3 day weekends. Talk to the UN.
Well, they recently. I'll talk to them. But you're the Mohadib, man. You can make this
Yeah,
happen. No, I see. Here's the thing. I
it is
agree. I
written.
just saw like an Instagram post. I think I might have sent it to you or sent it to Carly or somebody, where they recently did a study where they did like a 4 day work week, and the employees were much happier and much more productive at work. So who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe someday they implement that. That
Maybe
would be
they did
nice.
implement working from remotely, which I mean I guess hasn't. I don't know if it's been an overall success. It has in my company. I mean I've been doing it now for over 3 years and not hating it.
I bet you're not. I bet you're not. It must be nice. Must be nice.
My commute looks
My
like
job.
this.
Such a long commute for you, man. You got to pivot to the left. That sucks.
Yep.
But listen, before we get to what we're watching, this is there some like news that jumps out to you? And I'm going to ask you that question, and then I'm going to immediately jump in and talk about the big three images that dropped this week.
Okay.
Do you know what these images are?
I'm not sure yet. Tell me.
All right. So the first image that dropped was the first look at Bill Skarsgård as the Crow.
Yeah, I do know this image.
Yes, I'm sure you do. As people who listen to this show, it's kind of an ongoing joke. Walker is not cultured. He has not seen the 1994 version of The Crow. and its excellence. At some point, you are going to have to cross that off the list, especially because it's celebrating its 30th anniversary, I think in May of this year, which is weird that that movie came out in May. That should have been an October
Right.
release, but I digress. This movie has gone through so much over the years. There's been so many people uh, cast or like circling the Crow, and the project just has never got off the ground. Well, now it has, and I think we actually talked about it on one of our previous weekly shows. I can't remember which one, where they said, "Oh, here's a release date. It's going to come out in June. It'll come out this year, and it'll come out." And I think they finally put it down for like June 7th, which again, weird release date for a movie about Halloween or taking place at Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And the director choice is odd. He's not a bad director, but I also don't think he's great. But these images dropped, and the first image I saw was the one of Bill Skarsgård putting on the trench coat. And you see
Mm-hmm.
all the tattoos and everything. I saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, it looks like Jared Leto's Joker."
Right.
And I was like, "Well, it looks it's definitely a choice. Like it's a choice, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it still looks gothic. Putting on the trench coat, no shirt on. He still has the dark makeup on. It doesn't look like he's wearing the white makeup." And I was like, "Oh, the short hair. Okay. All right, that's not bad. It doesn't have the iconic long hair." But then, Walker, I looked at the next two photos that also dropped. It's not short hair. It is short on the top, buzzed on the sides, and then rocking a party in the back. And I was like,
I
no.
haven't seen that.
Listen, it's just a look, but the hair choice, the tattoo's fine. Not wearing the white makeup, fine. It still has the black makeup, fine. The hair choice, not a fan. Not a fan of
Yeah,
that.
that's interesting. It's hard for me. I don't have any control to compare it to because I haven't seen the original, so I don't know what like my expectation would be for this movie. Because when I see the picture of him putting on the trench coat, it kind of played with what I assume the Crow is, but I don't know what the Crow
Yeah,
characters look like. Um, Skarsgård though, man, that family. Did we talk about this recently? That family is so talented. I mean, I know we're
it's
going to talk
unfair.
more about it later, but I mean, this one's Bill, right?
Yeah, you got Bill, you got Stellan,
Bill's
and you
Pennywise.
uh-huh. He's in
Yeah,
John Wick chapter 4. He's really good in that.
yeah, yeah. The and then his brother, uh, is it Alex? I
I
can't remember which. What I know. I mean, their dad's obviously incredible. I mean, I love what he's doing in the Andor, and I love what he's doing in Dune. But the other brother, I think his name's Alex Skarsgård. I'll look it up and while you're talking at some point to confirm. But he was in
I'm gonna look it
Succession.
up right now.
He played like an antagonist, like kind of a supporting antagonist in season 4 of Succession, and was a star. I mean, he I mean, I know you haven't seen Succession, but you've seen the award shows that it cleans up every house it enters. And
Yeah,
and I think he was one of the best parts of the season. I mean, so he came to play and worked hard. So that family is just incredible. So I have a lot of trust. That being
Alexander.
Alexander Sugar, okay.
Yeah,
But I
I don't
guess
know
that being
why
said,
we
Jared
both
Leto
blanked
is
on
one of
that.
the best ever, and you watch him in the Joker, and obviously it's not fair to that comparison because people just said he looks like him, so that's there's nothing
Well,
else similar.
people associate his Joker with like a bad performance, and I still like that interpretation of the Joker. It's not my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I do also think that, and it's been highly publicized, that like his role in that film got chopped to pieces. So we still really haven't been given
Yep.
a good look at what his Joker was outside of Zack Snyder's Justice League and that like 5 minute sequence, which I thought he was really, really good in. But yeah, I mean, look, I see the comparisons to Jared Leto's Joker. I'm cool with the look because you gotta, you know, you can't top that iconic look from the 90s that Sting the wrestler ripped off for his gimmick, right? You can't top that look. So you gotta try to do something different. And the tattoos I don't mind, the face I don't mind. It's just the hair. That bugs me. That bugs me. But yeah, guys, let us know in the comment section down below, what are your thoughts on the look of Eric Draven? Is this something that you're a fan of? Or are you like me, where you're like, there's some things I like, and also that's a bad choice when it comes to the hair? Let
That's
us
fine.
know in the comment section down below. But speaking of Jared Leto, we got our first look at Tron Aries as
Oh,
well.
that's right. I
Uh,
did see that image.
yeah, I'm assuming that's Jared Leto in that getup. It looks very Tron-y.
I still haven't
I
seen any of the Trons, and I need to because I want to go to Disney World and ride the ride too.
so the original Tron looks really dated now, but I still enjoy it. I watched it as a kid. Really liked it. Tron Legacy is a movie that I think is a very, very underrated. It reminds me of wrestling my junior year because I used to listen to the Daft Punk soundtrack that they did for that film before wrestling matches and stuff. Yeah, like that score was incredible. The visuals were stunning. Yeah, very. I think it's highly underrated, but I'm still like shocked that Disney are going forward with another Tron movie because while that movie did okay, I don't think it did what they were expecting or what they wanted it to do. And it's not like it has this, I would say it has a cult following, but I wouldn't say it has like a big, big following.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
who
I've never
knows it?
seen it, and I mean, I mean, I know that's not unheard of that I haven't seen a movie, but like my guess is if I asked everybody, I mean, my guess is I don't know many people who've seen it.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
maybe they saw the childhood one, and they're like, maybe I saw it, but I think it
yeah,
might have missed my generation. Maybe it's a 1980 baby thing.
it's got a big cast, and it's got Jared Leto playing Ares. You got Evan Peters is in there, Greta Lee, Cameron Monaghan. So it's got like a good little cast.
Hmm.
So maybe it'll be pretty good. I mean, again, I like the first one. Really like the second one. I think it's very underrated. Jared Leto is one of my favorite actors. 30 Seconds to Mars is like my favorite band. Well, them and Coldplay and Kings of Leon. Those are like my three favorite bands.
Jeff likes them
So
too.
yeah, they're excellent. Great live show too. Great live show. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The image looks cool. I like the red. It's not the orange or the blue like they normally have, but it's interesting. It's interesting. But speaking of blue, Superman.
This was what I was gonna say.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. If I'll let you go first.
Well, I mean, they changed the name. Biggest news to ever hit Hollywood. They went from Superman Legacy to Superman. What are your thoughts
I
on it?
like the title change. I
Yeah.
like it. So like it simplifies it to just because there's never been a Superman movie titled Superman, just Superman. You have the Donner movie that was titled Superman the movie,
Hmm.
but not just flat Superman. You had Man of Steel, which obviously people know is that's Superman, but just simplifying it and just having Superman as the title, I think is a smart move. I like it. Not that I didn't like the legacy tag, but I think it simplifies it. I like it. And with that announcement, James Gunn also showcased what is the symbol.
Yeah.
I like it a lot, man.
I like
I
them
know it's
too.
just I know it's
Looks
just a
cool.
symbol, but I like it a lot. It looks like they're going with the Kingdom Come S, which if you don't know what that is, look up Kingdom Come by Alex Ross. A great comic book arc, a great story, and a very beautiful looking art. in that comic, but also that S is iconic. But they're taking away the black behind it and they're adding in the yellow. So you're still gonna get that symbol that's Alex Ross inspired S, but it's going to be that red and yellow. And I like that. I like that choice. It seems to me what they're gonna do, because James Gunn has mentioned Kingdom Come a lot when it comes to DCU and what his inspirations are.
Hmm.
And it seems to me, because in that comic book arc, you have young heroes who aren't necessarily doing a great job, and you have an older Superman and older heroes come back to kind of show them how it's done. And I think they're going to do the inverse of that, where you have older heroes not doing as good, and you're going to have this symbol of hope being Superman to come in and show them how it's done, and show them, truth, justice in the American way, right? And I like that. I like that choice. I like that story choice. It seems to me like, people talk about Man of Steel like, oh, it's dark, it's brooding, it's depressing. It's like, no,
It's
that
brutal.
is,
That's
yeah,
what you're
it's
about to say.
brutal. No. No, people talk about it like it's this depressing movie. It's like, no, it's not. Like, what that movie is it's Superman trying to be hopeful and find his place in a bleak world, right? And
Hmm.
I think James Gunn is going to take something similar, or at least a similar approach, and it's going to be Superman being the symbol of hope in a otherwise not bleak but cynical world,
Gotcha.
and how he's going to be, old fashioned in a society that considers old fashioned hokey, right? And
Yeah.
I like that choice, and that's why I think James Gunn's an inspired choice to do this. But as far as the symbol goes, I like it a lot. I can't wait to see David Corn Sweat in the full suit. I want to see the full suit, and maybe might be controversial. I like trunks, no trunks, but for this, I want trunks. I want to see the red trunks.
I'm excited for it. I mean, I like the
Yeah,
title change. I like the logo. Um, I look forward to it. Superman Legacy never really. It sounds cool, but it never really
yeah,
rang true to me. Like it never really like. I didn't think too deeply on it until it changed, but it never felt like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like I like Superman better. I like just the name. But I'm stoked
yeah,
for it.
yeah. Me too. Those are the only I brought up, like, off the top, like the three big images. Those are the only real, like, things that stood out to me this week. Is there anything that stood out to you except for that?
No, not really. No, I mean that was pretty much it. I mean, we got a week leading up to Oscars. Dune kind of took all the conversation this week.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's about all she wrote for that.
All right, man. Well, what are we watching, Walker?
I watched a few things before we get to the main event here, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be brief. I don't have a lot to say. It's certainly not positive to say. I
Oh.
watched completed season 4, True Detective. If you've
Mm-hmm.
never seen True Detective, it's an anthology show on HBO that has a different story, a different set of characters, different cast every season. Season 1 was incredible. It had Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. I mean, it's a detective kind of who done it mystery, throughout the and they start to lean you a little in like the supernatural, and then it starts to make sense later. It's well written, amazing performances in it, and it was well received. And then immediately they followed it up with season 2. I think they gave the creator, forgot his name, but Nick Palazzo, they gave him very little time, I think, to bust out a season 2 really quick. And I think he wrote the whole thing and casted it, and had it ready to be made in a matter of like 4 months. And I mean, I might be embellishing a little bit, but and it has Vince Vaughn and Colin Farrell and Richard McAdams. It was not well received at all. I haven't seen it but the once, and it's been a while, so it's hard to really remember now. It's been bashed so much online that it's affected my memory of it. Um, and then it took a big break. It seemed like it was just going to be gone for a while. Started to lose its one asterisk on my watch list for still in syndication, and I was thinking it just got canceled. But they brought it back with season 3. Mahershala Ali came back to form. I mean, it was great. It wasn't as good as season 1, but it was great. And then they started making a few connections to season 1, very brief, very minor Easter eggs that kind of tied it together, but just something that you could be like, ooh, I know what they're talking about. And then season 4 came back, and things I liked about it, or at least what I liked before it came out. It had a subtitle, True Detective Night Country.
Yeah.
And it's based in Ennis, Alaska, and it's an area that has periods of the year where it's total darkness all the time. 24 hours of darkness all the time, and just kind of how that like affects people, and it makes people kind of go a little crazy, makes people see things, makes people act irrationally, and that plays into it where you're not sure: is there a monster at bay? Is there a spirit? Is there something supernatural going on? How else would explain this type of thing? And then it's also just kind of interesting and a cool scene and set piece. Jodie Foster is the lead. I mean, I love Jodie Foster. She's great. I haven't seen a ton of stuff she's in. Surprisingly, we talked about doing a Jodie Foster draft at one point, and I was like, man, I've only seen like 6 movies she's been in, and so it's hard to like do that. But what she usually picks them well, and does a great job with what she picks. So those are the positives about it. Also, it's only 6 episodes, which made me happy. Night Country was kind of cool. You start to forget it's Night Country. I mean, you never forget it's Alaska. You never forget this town is crazy and people go nuts in it. But you just kind of start to think it's always nighttime. You just like you never like forget you never. I don't know. They don't make you think enough. I wish I was reminded more, like by them, like waking up in the morning and it being dark, and like eating cereal, but it's dark outside. But it always just feels like it's nighttime. I know it doesn't matter, but Jodie
Like in the
Foster is great
Batman,
in it. Yeah,
it's
Jodie
always
Foster's
raining at
great in it.
nighttime.
Yeah, Jodie Foster's great in it, but it's not very good. I didn't like it.
Really? Because
Boring.
I hear a lot of people really like it, but I do hear like some people don't like the supernatural elements. I know the original creator has said some really choice things about it online, and some
Mm-hmm.
of it's kind of hateful.
Yeah, I don't love the supernatural part of it either. Parts of it were just kind of weird for being weird. They trickle things in that never fully flesh out for me, and when they do flesh out, it feels like they're fleshed out in the last 20 minutes, like very quickly. The last
Yeah.
episode did not hit very hard for me. Like the reveal, it didn't do what a good whodunits. The ones in recent memory, I mean, True Detective season 1, I mentioned Mayor of Easttown was a good one. Like things that they like piece it together, where every week you start to think it's them. That's the person that you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it, but first of all, the every week I wasn't like, oh, I think it's this person. It was, I don't give a shit who did it. I don't care. And wait, who even died? I'm not even sure. Like it's so hard. It's like it's not even that good. I mean, I can't. It's the writing in it's rough. I don't think it's very good. I think the first 2 episodes were like, okay, this could be interesting. I hope they pick it up a little bit, and then they picked it up less and less. A lot of the characters are unlikable. They're all going through tough stuff, and I'm not saying the performances are bad. They're not bad, but just the writing isn't there. Like what they're given. I don't like the way the characters are written. They're written they're going through a lot. They're struggling with a lot in their lives. They have a tough life. They really focus on the tribes that are like inhabitant there, like that are have always been there since before people immigrated there. Like the Native American type tribes and stuff that are, I guess they're Eskimo. I don't really know. I shouldn't even speak on it, but I don't know. I didn't enjoy the show that much. The ending didn't surprise me. It didn't. I didn't care. The person who, I mean, the solution was, who's that? Like I don't even, didn't matter much at all to me.
So is this like a skip it for you?
Pretty close, yeah. I mean, I'm never gonna skip something I've seen the first 3 seasons of. I mean, I'm gonna give it a try. Yeah, I pretty much would skip. I mean, Colton asked me recently. He liked some of the other seasons and asked if it was any good. He watched one episode and asked if it was worth sticking with, and I told him no, don't worry about it. I wouldn't. But
Okay.
yeah, I guess my recommendation would be skip it. The other thing I watched was finally the Continental, the mini series from the world of John Wick
I've
on
been
Pig.
like pushing it off, and I've
Me
just been
too.
continuously pushing it off, and I haven't gotten around to it, mostly because I've heard it's not that great.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it, which is, I mean, I heard they were making it, and I was like, okay, I get John Wick's big. I mean, I always criticize properties for jumping on the bandwagon too late. Walking Dead's really guilty of this. They put out 11 seasons, they waited for it to suck, and now they have 6 shows that are Walking Dead. And it's like, no one cares about Walking Dead anymore. Stop putting it out there. And why didn't you do this in season 4 when everybody in the world was talking about Walking Dead, and then make four different shows about it? Why are you waiting until now and just like draining all the money out of it? I mean, I just don't like that decision. John Wick is big right now. I think they got on time where they should have done it. And I know they're doing the ballerina thing.
Yeah, they're pretty much, they pushed that movie like a year.
Hmm.
It was supposed to come out this summer, and then they've pushed it.
The Continental, there's some good things about it. At this point, it's been I watched it before we reviewed Dune, so it's been about 2 weeks since I watched it. Directionally, pretty good. I mean, there's some cool shots in it that remind you of John Wick. They kind of pull you back in, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is John Wick. Like good camera work, interesting like symmetry and things that those movies are kind of shot with sometimes. And layering and I mean, just like an opening shot of the first episode, there's like cool like train passing him, and like, I mean, it's just like a nice aesthetic shot. Fight choreography, we do not get enough of it. That's clear, but it is good when we get it. I mean, it's not Keanu Reeves. It's not. You want
Mm-hmm.
You want John Wick. We don't have John Wick. You want someone who's put as much work into this as Keanu Reeves has. We just don't have that. That said, it's high level for fight choreography, and it's good. It's fun to watch. It's cool. It looks brutal, pretty violent. So those are positives about it. The performances aren't bad. Mel Gibson's in it, and
Yeah.
uh, and he's probably the best part. I mean, he's an asshole. And then Winston Scott, young Winston Scott, is played by Colin Woodell. I'm not super familiar with his work. He was in the Purge television show, and I remember him in that.
They made a
He's
Purge television show?
yeah, 2 seasons. Um,
Okay.
Bill
That's the first I'm hearing about that. All
was
right.
on FX. He's fine. He's okay in it. Outside of that, I'm not familiar with really anybody else in it. It's definitely lower budget, pretty apparently so. Sometimes I think I almost like when I see low budget stuff, including in this. Sometimes I like tip my cap to it, and I'm like, "Oh, you did." I can tell, but I like what you did with that. I
A
like,
for effort, right?
yeah, I like how you stretched that dollar. I can tell what you just did, and I like it. That happens sometimes in this. It doesn't happen sometimes in this too. It's like, I mean, this looks like a set piece from a big high school play or something. It almost looks like a Broadway set piece or something. Like it looks kind of whack, and it's
Okay.
not filmed stylized that way. It's not like Fences or something where you can kind of feel it, or The Whale. It it's okay. I would give it like a stream it. I would give it if you ever get around to it. The issue, I mean, it's 3 episodes, which is nice, but I mean, it's three
That's
like
nice.
hour and 45 minute episodes. So I mean, it's 3 movies.
That's a big commitment. Yeah. That's an
Yeah,
afternoon.
yeah. I mean, and it's not like I can't put it down show. So you're not going to watch it one afternoon, um, without drilling your head out. I mean, you're just gonna. It's gonna. I mean, it's It's not bad. I didn't hate it, but like I was glad it was over when it was over. I'd probably give it a stream it, rent it, whatever we are in that category. Somewhere in like probably if I mean I don't typically don't rate shows or mini series or anything like that, but I'd probably give it somewhere in the 68 world, something like that. Watchable, has some value, but I mean you could skip it and not care. There's a little bit of the lore. Sometimes they go too deep into it though, and it's like you don't need to go that deep into it. It's kind of cool that there's a little mystery behind it in John Wick, but I digress. It's been I think you said that a minute ago. I don't know why I just said that. That's it though.
Okay, fair enough. So two like mediocre watches for you.
Yeah.
That sucks. That sucks.
Yeah.
The only thing outside of like the two things that we're going to discuss that I saw, and I can't really. So here's a little bit of insight into my sleeping habits, and I know this is terrible, but I watch movies while I'm going to sleep. Usually, I pick like a series of movies and I just watch them until I fall asleep, and then I just move on to the next movie the next night, and then I move on to the next movie the next night. I just did that with Star Wars. That's a big thing with me is I will watch like the first 10, 15 minutes of Star Wars and then I will fall asleep. I have just started doing Jurassic Park.
Really?
So I watched Jurassic Park and sort of, and I watched Jurassic Park, The Lost World of the Lost World, Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
Both those movies are awesome. I
Yeah.
know at least like the first like 15 minutes. Like I said, I fall asleep after that. But yeah, that outside of the things that we've been watching, that's pretty much it before we get to the both the things that we've been watching. Do you do that
Yeah.
though? Do you watch stuff to go to sleep too?
I used to every night. I used to have to do it. My wife won't let me anymore though. Yeah, like it's just not. It's not. She doesn't like it. She says like she'll hear that she'll listen to this episode and she'll be like, "You can watch whatever you want to watch." No, no, I can't. I can't. But Jurassic Park's great. I mean, I think very highly of the original Jurassic Park, 1983. I refer to it often whenever I see like subpar effects in movies nowadays and what they were able to accomplish in 1993. That was basically real dinosaurs, like to quote Ted and um, John from
Yeah, as they're walking out of the
the
theater.
yeah. He's like,
These are
they
real
got real
dinosaurs.
dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I don't think you know. I don't think you're listening.
Yeah.
But and then Lost World's so memorable. I remember the opening scenes. That's with the baby little raptors that come with that little girl and eat her
Yeah.
on the
Well, see, that's
beach.
like the first Jurassic Park movie I saw. I
Mm-hmm.
my nana picked me up from school. I think I was actually sick, and she picked me up and she took me to her house. And usually, whenever she would pick me up and take me to her house, she had uh, like a shelf filled with VHS tapes
Mm-hmm.
of movies. That's how I watched Star Wars. That's how I watched Indiana Jones. That's how I watched True Lies. It's how I watched Jurassic World, or not Jurassic World, but Jurassic Park: The Lost World, and that was the first one I watched because I was like, "Oh, I really want to watch this movie, but Mom and Dad won't let me." And she was like, "It's fine, it's fine. You can watch it." So I was like, "Okay." So I watched it and absolutely love it. And two things I remember about that is I had every time I would go to Walmart, I would see that big T Rex,
Mm-hmm.
and you know the guy that gets eaten by the T Rex came with
Broken in
it,
half.
and you could put the guy down the T Rex's mouth.
That's cool.
I remember that
It's
action
a
figure
good
as a
toy.
kid, and I really wanted it. I never got it, but I really, really wanted it. But I remember that always seeing that at Walmart, and going, "Man, I'd love to get that. That's sick."
That's very memorable scene, and I should rewatch the first two. I like them so much. The third one was actually the first movie I ever saw, like without parents, that I was able to go to by myself. like with friends.
Summer of 2001. Yep.
Yeah, I would have been 11. It was the first movie that I was allowed to like get dropped off by my parents with my friends and see. And I honestly, it was like a horror movie to me. Like for some reason, like I mean, I was so scared. I mean, it and maybe the being the movies by myself. I mean, I'm sure it's somewhat scary. I mean, I'm sure for an 11-year-old, it's reasonably scary, and maybe for anybody. I mean, but I remember
Sorry.
afterwards being like, that was the scariest movie I've ever seen. And then I followed it up with Signs pretty shortly after that. I remember, and it was like, God, I'm just seeing horror movie after horror movie. That was a little.
Yeah. Now, I saw Jurassic Park 3 in the theater as well. I remember wanting to go see it, and my mom taking me and my siblings to go see it when my dad was out of town. And we had a good time. Had a good time. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, though. All I remember is the ringtone, that
I
ringtone
don't
that
remember
plays in the
anything about
movie.
it. I don't remember
Really,
anything about it.
that's like the only thing I remember about it, honestly. But yeah, those are the series of movies that I'm currently sort of, but not really watching before I go to bed. But Walker, let's move on to the things that we've both been watching, and we're gonna give you guys a little appetizer before we dive into the dunes of Arrakis. The Bad Batch. So the new season premiered last, or at the time of this recording, it was last week. Last Wednesday, they dropped the first 3 episodes, and then this week it was just the one episode. What are you thinking so far, or what are your thoughts so far on the season? It's a deep sigh.
No, I want to be fair.
You can be honest.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm pretty excited that it's the last season though. It's just tough, like it's. I'm not anti animation at all. I mean, there's some animation that I think is spectacular, and I think the Star Wars animation is pretty high on my list. I really enjoyed Clone Wars mostly, and Rebels, but to be fair, when I was watching Clone Wars and Rebels, I was binging them,
Mm-hmm.
and it was hard for me to get it going. You know what I mean? There was several times where I watched 5 episodes, 6 episodes, and I was like, all right, man. I mean, how much longer am I going to do this? And I'd sit back, and then I'd try again, but I always wanted to fill in the canon, and then eventually, like with a lot of things, you just get like attached and like you slip into the story and you're like, now I'm just like in it, whether you like it or, I don't know, you know what I'm saying, like you just kind of you find some momentum watching it.
Yeah,
And then honestly, the later seasons of the Clone Wars, it really starts to improve too. I mean, it starts to get much
it
better,
ramps up after the
especially
first
at
two
the end.
seasons. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I start to really like it, but I'm also binging it, and it's constantly what I'm watching, and there's just a different feel to it. Rebels, I felt similarly, less strongly, but similarly. I like the story. It was new Star Wars. I was interested in it. Bad Batch now, like if I had like a child that was the right age and we were watching it together, I would love it. That would be awesome. It'd be the perfect thing to watch with like
Mm-hmm.
your kid. It's just a bit of a chore for me to watch it now, though. Like
I
I'm.
think that's what my brother's doing. He's watching it with his two kids, and they love it. So,
That's
and I think
cool.
that's why he loves it a lot.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I really like parts of the first season. Like the first like 2 episodes of the first season are great, and then it also ends strong. Like the stuff on Camino's great. The last season, like the last half of it, like the first 2 episodes, especially that second episode, very strong, very strong. And then it kind of goes on to like adventure of the week kind of stuff, which is still enjoyable, but it's kind of like empty calories. It's like it's enjoyable, but I don't feel like full. The last half, however, I thought was excellent. And for me at least, like the first 4 episodes, it seems like they are not, there's no filler. And I don't want to call those adventure of the week episodes filler, because there's always a purpose and a point, and especially by the time we get to the end of the season, you realize, oh well, we needed these episodes to kind of get to know these characters and how they interact with each other to make you care about what's going on at the end. It seems like they're at that point where it's like, all right, you know what you're getting. We're going to give you this story. And I love what they're doing so far, especially when it comes to everything with the Emperor and Project, was it Necromancer?
Yeah,
Yeah, Project Necromancer. Because here's the thing, Star Wars superpower is in the Skywalker films, they paint everything with a very broad brush. And it's excellent, and you can take it as it is. But watching the expanded materials like the Clone Wars, like Rebels, and like the Bad Batch, it gives you much more meat to chew on, and it makes the movies better.
I agree.
And that Star Wars is superpower. That's why they've lasted as long as they have since 1977. Why they continue to be strong is because, again, movies paint with a broad brush, and then they fill in everything in between the gaps. And I like how they're doing that with Palpatine, and how that
Clone
connects to
stuff.
how that connects to the Mandalorian, and how that connects to the sequel trilogy. I like it a lot, and I'm liking this season a good bit. I love the Echo character. Her voice is so cool.
Yeah.
Love that Echo. I can't even do it. I can't do it. Like it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, no, I do like the subs. I like the gaps we're filling in. I like the lore it's expanding upon and deepening. And I also will like the aspect. I mean, I think Dave Filoni or somebody said that like this is kind of the end of. I mean, I know we've had a lot since George Lucas has been involved, and everything is a branch of what he kind of created.
Yeah,
But I think it was Filoni had said like this is kind of the end of the story he was telling though. Like this is kind of
with the
like
Clone
eh,
Wars. Yeah,
yeah, like this is kind of like the everything he had in mind. This is kind of like wrapping that up and like finishing like the dues to him and everything like
now,
that.
was
And
it
that's why it's very.
Filoni that said that?
I don't know. No, I don't. I have no idea. Somebody said it.
Somebody said it, and it was one of the creators. I don't think it was Filoni though.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just thought that was a cool like nod, and yeah, and the animation's great. I like how Omega's growing. I like how if you were a kid, she'd be kind of growing with you a little bit. And we've got what's the? It's not Hawkeye. What's his name?
Crosshairs. I
Crosshair.
like. I love his arc. I love his arc.
I
He
did too,
did.
actually. You know, I like that it's not so cookie cutter. Like like when you got the chance, that's bold too for a children's show. I mean, to when he had the chance multiple times to make it better or to to have a face turn or whatever, he was like, no, I mean, I'm not doing this because of the chip. I'm doing this because I want to do, and I
Yeah.
thought that was a bold move. I like it.
Well, it's like he's trying to find his place, because every one of these, the Bad Batch, has their like specific thing that they're really good at.
Hmm.
He is a very excellent marksman, but how does that translate to everyday life? And it's him continuing down this road because he probably doesn't feel like he has much to offer, and he has to literally get broken down to build himself back up. And it's Echo that's giving him that hope. And I like that. I like that a lot. Didn't even talk about the possibility of Echo being force sensitive, or at least having a little bit of a good amount enough of M count within her to make that work with whatever they're doing with the blood
Right.
and all that stuff. But it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. So far, I'm really digging this season a lot.
Nala
Can't
say.
can't Can't give it a must see, go see it, Richard, or skip it just yet because it's still ongoing. I'm sure we'll report back by the time we get to the end of the season. We'll
I'll
have our
touch up
final
on it.
grade.
I'll
Yeah.
try to watch it with a little more open eye. To be fair, too, it's kind of a all right. Let me just burn through this episode real quick type of show. Like I may
No.
not be giving it the respect it deserves either.
Yeah. There's some shows like that I do that with. I'm sure as
Yeah.
well. But Walker, let's move on to our big topic of the week. That little indie movie that could Dune Part 2. So there was a lot of buzz surrounding this movie. Obviously, we did a deep dive on the original film last week. If you haven't listened to that, be sure to give it a listen. We gushed about it for almost 2 hours. Absolutely love that film. Incredible film. It was my second favorite movie of 2021, I believe. This one was one of the most anticipated films of last year. They had to delay it, and then they moved it to this year. And without going too deep into my overall thoughts, I'm sure that movies like Oppenheimer and other films are thanking their lucky stars that it did move. Walker, did this movie live up to the hype that was surrounding it going into it, with the early reactions being as glowing as they were? Did it live up to what you wanted, or was it a disappointment?
Yes, it was. It lived up fully. It was incredible.
Mhm.
We'll get into ratings and stuff. It's very high. I will say, in anticipation wise, I mean, this was one of the most anticipated movies for me personally, for several reasons. But one of I mean, it's one of the most anticipated movies ever for me, but especially of like my adult anytime in the recent past movie. Now, I mean, obviously, Barbenheimer was coming out. That was historic. And that was a big
That was
deal, and it was an
great.
anticipated.
Yeah,
And it was also it delivered on both movies in my opinion. But I mean, there in
agree.
Star Wars came. There are a lot of things that are big time movies, but this was just when we are kind of in a time that like a certain facet of us are you know really want like that cinema culture to stick around, and we want the movie theater experience to stay around, and like and feeling like this could really punch it home. I mean, I loved it. I went with a bunch of my friends. We all enjoyed the first one, and we went out and got a couple drinks and some pizza beforehand, and the theater was pretty packed, man. Packed out,
God,
IMAX.
I wished I were there with you guys, man. That would have been so cool.
It was, I mean, it was just one of the cool, I mean, just what I wanted. It's what I've been waiting for forever. It's so hard to get that. I mean, just in general, as an adult, it's hard to get it. But for something, and for the movie to deliver and be as good as I hoped it was, I mean, and for the movie itself, this is just for the experience and for how it made me feel.
Yeah,
Great.
it is. So I unfortunately for me, like I was gonna go on the Thursday night, but I have to get up at like 3:15 every
Hmm.
morning. So I was like, I'm gonna fall asleep in this movie, even as good as it is. I like I need to I want to see this with as clear as of a head as I possibly can. I don't want to have to worry about, oh, I have to go to work the next day. And I had people messaging me after that Thursday night saying like, stuff like, wow, oh my God, like one word responses. Even like the fan screening that happened, like I think on Sunday, I had a couple people tell me, like, this is excellent. Like, you're going to love it. And like, I just, I haven't felt this excited to go see a movie like this since I saw Avatar The Way of Water, which is, I love that first movie a lot. I go back to it a lot, and then this seeing Avatar: The Way of Water, like I would watch that trailer over and over and over and over and over again because I love the music, I love the atmosphere, I love what it was trying to create, and I even saw it in IMAX. I was pumped for it, and I was really excited for this one. I wasn't quite that high, but in the last week, between doing the deep dive that we did on Dune and then watching that movie twice and then getting those messages from all my friends, like it got to that level. So when I sat down on Friday night, I was like in my favorite seat. I had my popcorn, I was my Swedish fish. I totally planned out my macros so I could eat both those things for the movie. I went to the gym before the movie, before I saw it, so I was like gonna be awake and I was gonna be good to go. I had my large Pepsi Zero, so I had some caffeine. I was ready, and dude, like I was speechless, which is a rarity. I was like speechless when I left the theater. I was just awestruck. The more I think about it, the more I love it. The more I listen to the soundtrack, the more I listen to that bit of music that plays at the end, the Kiss the Ring by Hans Zimmer, the more I get chills when I think about it. I just I have not felt this way leaving a movie since I saw Avatar The Way of Water, which is a big deal for me. Like, I absolutely love that movie. I was just speechless after seeing it. And it took me a minute to even like gather my thoughts because there's a lot that happens. And as far as adaptation goes, there's some things that they do differently in this. But overall, like, you know, this 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 lived up to my expectations, man. This was it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it really was, and you can break it down in any sort of category to do it. I mean, visually, it was
Stunning, dude.
astonishing. I mean, there was somehow Denis Villeneuve it, say his fucking name. I mean, people are gonna know his
Yeah.
name. I mean, people need to know his name. He needs to be in the similar conversation as a lot of these
Of
big time
Nolan. Well,
guys. Yeah,
look at this filmography.
it's perfect.
It, I started out. I didn't watch. He started out as a documentarian,
Hmm.
I believe, and I didn't see his first movie ever, but I saw Prisoners. I saw Enemy. I saw Sicario. I
Scaria.
saw Blade Runner
All right.
2049. Arrival. Even he did Arrival, and then Blade Runner 2049. Then Dune. Then this. It's like
And it's
banger,
nuts.
banger, 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 banger. Like, it's just like great
Like a
movie after
lot of
great
those
movie after
movies
great movie.
are like 93 and above for me.
Yeah.
Almost all those movies, maybe. I haven't seen Enemy, but all of the other ones are excellent to me.
Well, I think the thing that makes him so good as a filmmaker, and he recently got into, I don't want to say gotten heat or got some heat for it, but he recently made some comments about how film has been infected by TV and how he hates doing dialogue. He doesn't like
Hmm.
dialogue. Um, Dialogue is for the television or it's for the theater, but for cinema or for film, it's about the image. And I wrote in my and I'm paraphrasing, but I believe I wrote something along the lines of what makes him special as a filmmaker is he can capture an image and tell you a story without having to use useless dialogue to explain it. There are so
That's
many
exactly
movies
right.
today. There are so many movies today that feel the need to fill the space with useless dialogue. If you are showing it to me on the screen, you don't have to tell me how it feels. All you have to do is allow your actor and trust your actor to be able to evoke that emotion so that the audience can see it and they can feel it. The audience ain't
I re-
stupid.
I respect it so much. I love it.
I
You just
love it.
trust
And
yourself. You trust your skill.
yeah,
You trust your audience.
Yeah, and that's not saying dialogue can't be great. I mean, one of my favorite scenes of the year, I think it was like my second favorite scene of the year, is in Barbie, where America Ferrera gives that incredible speech. Dialogue can be incredible and it can be used to move you, especially in scenes like that. But oftentimes, you are showing me and you're telling me at the same time. Denis Villeneuve does not do that.
I agree completely. I don't necessarily agree with him in terms of dialogue not being in the heaven like really a place in cinema. I understand what he's saying. I
It
think it can.
does.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like stuff like Quentin Tarantino's stuff. I think the dialogue plays a huge role in my enjoyment in those
Yeah.
movies. I mean, I think it's masterfully done. I'm certainly on board with saying dialogue doesn't play a big role in Denis Villeneuve movies, which is fine because you don't need them because you make films differently and exactly what you said. He small scene. This is so random to me, but I remember seeing it, and I don't know why it was so impactful to me. But the scene in Fargo. Have you seen the movie Fargo? Where
Mm-mm.
he's burying the suitcase on the side of the road in the snow, and like he walks out, he goes out there, and he's starting to like bury it, and then he's like looking down, and the fence like looks the same like for miles in the snow, and then he looks this way, he's on the side of a highway, and he looks this way, and it looks the same for miles, and like he doesn't say anything, but you know it looks like, God, man, this road is like it just looks like the same forever. Then he walks back to the car and he gets the windshield wiper scraper and starts keeps digging and then like leaves the windshield wiper in the ground so he can like mark where he didn't say a word, but like you took that ride with him the entire time. You know what I mean? You know
Yeah.
exactly what he was thinking, exactly what he was doing. It doesn't even matter. All he's saying is, hey, this is gonna be hard to find. I need to put something down so I can find it. You know? I mean, I for some reason that like resonated with me so much when I saw it the first time. And Denis does exactly that on a huge scale. I mean,
Every one of
one
his
of my
movies. It's like in Blade Runner 2049, there are several shots that are just Ryan Gosling sitting there. And you can tell what he's going through, what he's feeling, just by the way Denis Villeneuve is able to capture it.
yeah.
He
Oh,
is he uses and the thing is he does it like I don't think he hates dialogue. Like I think he's exceptional at it. Like he's great when it's needed, but he doesn't feel the need to put so much in there. And that's kind of the case in this film, right? And
mhm.
we can go ahead like visually. You know what? Let's talk about the performances and then we'll get into like the visual effects aspects of it. There are many great performances in this movie. Everyone came to play. And Timothy Chalamet is one of those actors where, you know, the first thing I ever saw him in was Beautiful Boy, which he was incredible in. And then you have Call Me by Your Name, which is a movie I'm not necessarily a huge fan of, but he is incredible in it. He earned an Oscar nomination for it. But like when he was cast as Paul Atreides, I was like, interesting choice. I don't know if he could do it. And then I saw The King, that movie they did on Netflix. Great in that. And I was like, all right, I think he could be Paul Atreides. And there is something that he does in this movie about halfway through where a switch flips for him. And it's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. He is one of this generation's greatest actors. He is insanely good. And the range of this dude. We just saw him in Wonka.
Yeah.
And then you see him in this. And it's like, what the fuck? Like complete opposite performances. And like he is so captivating in both. And again, he can tell you 1,000 stories without saying a word. He is a just incredible actor, incredible performance.
I agree. He was tasked with a tough. This movie, especially more so than the first one. I mean, it was a tough balance, a tightrope to walk
Yeah,
in
and he
this
was great
movie,
in the first
and
one.
and then the turn. Yeah, I agree. But this, I just think this was a bigger challenge for him to overcome, and he
Yeah,
overcame it perfectly. And when he shows up, towards the end with like these larger than life monologues and like the presence that starts to get big.
when he goes, "No one in this room can challenge me," but he says it in
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
and it's oh my god! Like I was like, yeah, I wouldn't challenge you,
Yeah.
dude.
Oh man, I love it. I agree though. Performances pretty much top to bottom. I mean, Austin Butler.
Dude,
I mean,
oh my
he's
god,
great.
Elvis left the building.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, he's a lunatic, and I love it. I mean, he's so good from beginning to end.
the voice.
Yeah. I mean, he sounds just like Stellan Skarsgård.
I mean, he is not only did the
Or
guy
Conan.
lose his actual voice to be Elvis for a year, and he had to get like a dialect coach to help him. He then also can sound like Stellan Skarsgård, and it's so creepy. Like the way that he does it, like it's in the battle scenes where he's like drooling as he's fighting, like intense. Like he is
He's he,
great.
yeah. God, it was so good.
And then the
I
way
mean,
that he like does the whole, Timothy Chalamet at the end, may thy knife chip and shatter, and then he like, may thy knife chip. Was it like right back to him? Like it's so condescending.
uh, it's great. I mean, Stellan Skarsgård's also great in
Oh,
it.
yep.
We mentioned him earlier in the show. One thing that I guess Denis does really interestingly, I mean, and I guess it could possibly be a negative in the right eyes. To me, I'm thinking of it in a positive way, but he gives you just enough of a great thing and then leaves you wanting more of it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything he does, like in the first one too. I I loved Stellan Skarsgård's character, the Baron.
Yeah.
I was fascinated by him. I loved his performance. I loved his like intrigue and uniqueness, and I wanted to see more of him. But you don't get much of him. They just tease you. Obviously, infamously, he did it with Zendaya. But I like it. I think it's almost brave, and I understand it was a marketing play. I know it kind of take people, but I don't care. I think it's brave to like take someone because I've got a plan. I talk about this all the time, where like some things feel like they were afterthoughts and they had to
Mm-hmm.
rethink it. And I really respect when things are like a plan from the beginning and like they stick with the plan. That's how it feels with this movie or both these movies. And it felt like we're going to give you a little of this, a little of that. We'll give you more of it later. But then, like Austin Butler, you're like, I need 4 hours of this guy, and it's like, nope. Here's what you're going to get, and it's like, and you're going to
You get
leave
it. You get
wanting more to
enough.
see more of them. Yeah, you're just going to
Yeah,
want more though, and that's just a great place to feel when you walk out of a movie wanting more of it.
because what you want to leave a theater saying, "I want more," not "I want it
Yeah,
less." And the thing
exactly.
is, you just mentioned Zendaya.
Yeah.
This is her movie.
Hmm.
This is her movie. She, I mentioned, Timothy Chalamet being the actor of our generation. I would throw Austin Butler in there. I would say Tom Holland also has that potential as well. Speaking of Zendaya, but Zendaya is there's two. There's her, Florence Pugh, and Saoirse Ronan. And we'll get to Florence Pugh here in a minute. But Zendaya is so good in this because her and Paul, you buy the chemistry between them is so important, and the character of Chani is so important to this story, and where the story ends with her is really important as well, even though it's a slight deviation from the book, but it's not really. But you have to buy their love for each other. So by the end, when stuff happens, you understand and everything like that. Like without giving away spoilers, and we'll get to spoilers here in a little bit. But
Okay.
she is so good. The chemistry between her and Timothy Chalamet is incredible. You buy their love story, you buy their romance, you buy this push pull that she has where she doesn't necessarily believe this prophecy and how they like separate, the northern versus the southern fundamentalist who believe
Mm.
fully in this prophecy. I think that's really interesting how they do that. I love that they do that. That was a very, very inspired choice, I think. And even though she doesn't buy into that stuff, you can tell she still feels and loves Paul. And she has to walk that tightrope of, you could be pulled into this direction, but I love who you are. Just don't lose yourself.
Yeah.
And she's great in this, and she carries so much power, and she emotionally, again, there are moments in this movie, doesn't say a word, doesn't have to. Great actresses, great actors can do that. Zendaya is, I mean, I've always thought she was great, but this right here, man, holy crap, she was so good.
Yeah, Zendaya specifically. It's funny. Well, there's a couple things I want to say. Can we put a line on spoilers here? Can I want to say a few things relating to her, or should I wait?
Let's hold off on spoilers. Let's have a whole section because I have a lot. I
Okay.
have a lot I want to get into.
All right.
All right,
What's next?
but well, like, so
the
you want to hold off on Zendaya. So
yeah.
the other two performances that stuck out to me were Javier Bardem as Stilgar, who is the comic
No,
relief.
oh, he's so
He's
funny
comic
in this.
relief, but he's also like, it's not, it's comedy within the character. It's not like pausing for a laugh or being quirky to be quirky, or, pointing out something that's like observational humor. It's not that. It's like the stuff that he does and says is really funny. Like the whole, like, he's humble, see?
Yeah, it's written.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
The whole theater was cracking up at him the whole time.
yeah. The whole, like, when Paul has to do the walk in the desert,
Yeah.
he's telling him to watch out for the demons. No, but seriously, watch out for don't listen to those voices. Great in this movie. I mean, he's great in everything, but he's really good in this.
Yeah, he is good. Who was I just about to bring up? Christopher Walken. That's another person. I mean, I was really excited for Christopher Walken's portrayal, and he was good in it. But like, you don't get a lot. It's very,
You get
very
just
little.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
The ending
Um,
with him, and it's in the trailer, but when he gives the whole speech about your father was a weak man, great.
mhm.
Great. And then, speaking of great performances, continuing on this because everyone's great in this, Josh Brolin, fantastic. I love the
Mr.
chemistry he has
Ferguson.
with Timothy Chalamet. Rebecca Ferguson, dude. Okay, so her character has to do like a switch in this, from being like the protective mom to all of a sudden being this power hungry Benny Gesserit type.
Mm-hmm.
And the switch that she does, it is creepy. Like, she becomes she becomes like terrifying, like scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talking
Yeah.
when she's talking to her daughter in the womb and everything, like, yeah.
I have never needed to see a movie again more in my life. I've got to see it again. I want to go see it tonight. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, number one, just for the density of it. I mean, I said this about the first one. It's a lot to take in on a spectacle scale, a performance scale, a material and lore scale. I mean, it's just a lot. I mean, at least you have the first movie to kind of like have a base knowledge to build off of, and kind of it's not a foreign language to you. But they trust your audience, and they maybe not shouldn't trust me quite as well. But like I gotta like really focus on it. I need to watch some stuff again. But oh well. You have any more performances? I want to get into some visuals.
I was about to go right into visuals, man, because the Harkonnen planet, it's the
The
monochrome.
Oh yeah, the
where it's
white sun
black and
thing.
white, the black sun. Yeah,
Yeah,
and the you see like the fireworks and everything.
yeah,
Awesome.
it's unbelievable, unbelievable.
Yeah,
So cool,
yeah.
so cool. Denis Villeneuve has a way. I mean, we'll keep. I mean, obviously he's. I mean, he's my MVP here. But he has a way to do these grand James Cameron esque, like just huge wide angle shots. And this movie was filmed all in IMAX too. And like a lot of times when I see IMAX movies, like it'll switch back and forth between like regular
Mhm.
format and IMAX depending on the scene. And this one was the whole time just huge, and it felt huge and it sounded huge. And he has this way of doing these huge wide angle, beautiful, grandioso shots with so much detail, with
Mhm.
so much attention to the little parts of it. It's the smallest huge movie I've ever seen. It's so interesting how he can like create this intimacy and create this like intense detail on such a large scale. I mean, I mean, very few can do it like that. I mean, James Cameron, I mean, like it's
Nolan.
really incredible to see. Yeah. I think my favorite scene, not maybe not my favorite scene. One of my favorite scenes that really took me back was the scene near the beginning with Zendaya and Timothy Chalamet under like the spider crawling looking like spaceship that the legs moved and they had the
Mhm.
bazooka and they were like the legs were moving and like they kept having to like keep up with the legs. And that was kind of a lot of what I was thinking about too when you were talking about him telling a story with this big shot, and I loved it. Also, Zendaya looks like a badass on it.
Awesome. She looks like a badass the entire movie, man.
Oh.
Yeah, I think visually this movie is incredible because it looks, even though there's visual effects shots in it, there are like there's giant sandworms, it just feels real and it looks real and it just feels tangible. And yeah, I was blown away by this visually. The worm riding scene. Oh my god, dude.
So cool.
Just the sound roaring, just and that shot of the worm going over and then down again. Oh my god. Oh,
That was yeah, and that's the scene that was after the credits when I resaw the first one in IMAX. It was like stick around for a sneak peek of the new one.
mhm.
And it was like that was what I saw when I know you said it was released online, but it was like, dude, this looks great. That was a great scene to like tease you with too.
Yeah, it was
It
so
felt like
so
you were
good.
in it. I mean, like it's so intense, and there were so many scenes that got me on the literally the edge of my seat, where I was like sitting up, leaning into the screen.
Yeah,
Amazing.
like there was moments where I'm just that was one of those moments where I was just like stuffing my mouth, like mindlessly watching the movie, just in awe of what I was seeing, what was transpiring. Overall thoughts before we get into spoilers.
I mean, it's a masterpiece. I mean, I think it's
Mhm.
incredible. It takes an already movie that I am super high on, probably higher now. I mean, it probably elevated another movie somehow for me. And I imagine I am gonna rewatch these so many times, just back to back to back to back. I love that they're making it. I love the theater experience. I love the sound design. I love the visuals and the SFX. I love the performances and the story and the direction. It's incredible. I mean, it's a no brainer must see.
Must see.
It's
Yeah.
definitely my favorite of the year so far. I would not be surprised at all if it holds this number one spot for the rest of the year. I've got it at 97 out of 100.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is like a 97, 98 out of 100. It's a must see. Floored. Floored by this movie, floored by every single little detail from directing, to acting, to the music, the cinematography, the story itself, the themes, the messages, the dangers of you know being like a fanatic and what that can do, the dangers of you know religion and all that stuff, and how it can be used to manipulate people and to create atrocities, like it's just overwhelmingly great.
Mhm.
It's just overwhelmingly great. Absolutely love this movie. Yeah, must see. This is the part of the show at an hour 16 minutes in. We're going to start talking some spoilers. And if Walker's up to it, we might even get into some spoilers for Dune Messiah. So, if you haven't seen Dune Part 2 yet, please go see it and then listen to this again. And also listen to what we're going to get into right here with spoilers. Um, I got to know, Walker, what do you think? Again, final warning before we get into spoilers. We're going in now. 3, 2, 1. Walker, what do you think of the hill turn at the end?
I mean, I think it got the juices flowing. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed
I
every
knew
bit
it
of
was
it. I th-
coming,
I
so
lo- yeah.
I was like curious because I was like, okay, like because part of my problem with the original Dune is he's played up, like the movie is that he's played up as, the chosen one, right? And this movie
Mhm.
deals with kind of a deconstruction of the chosen one trope, right? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Like the dangers of it. This is a cautionary tale. Paul is much more of an Anakin Skywalker than he is a Luke Skywalker, right? He's
Right.
not he's anti-hero. He's not a bad guy, but he does bad things out of fear in order to protect what he loves. And that's ultimately what happens. He's rejecting the idea of being this messiah, right? He doesn't want to do it, but his mom, Jessica, is manipulating all of this. The Bene Gesserit are manipulating all of this because for centuries they've been trying to manipulate bloodlines to create the was it the
Quasi Cataract.
Quasat Cataract or whatever, Quizsack Cataract, whatever, knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog bone, trying to create that someone that they can create to manipulate so they have the power. Paul wasn't supposed to be this, but this person that they wanted in this position. But he is in this position now. And I think a lot of it has to do with his mom pushing for that and manipulating certain circumstances to where he has to. And finally, once you get to that halfway point in the movie where they get found, their home like gets destroyed with all that water that's like sacred to them that they don't even drink gets destroyed. And I think it's out of fear at that point that he decides to drink that stuff, right? And that's where he turns to the dark side, man. And even then, like it plays like that in the book. In the theatrical version of that, the one that came out in the 80s, they don't play it up like that. And I
Mhm.
loved how it was handled. And you could hear like the audible gasp at the end because I still think like even in the books, like he still loves Chani. Chani is his love. His proposition to marry Princess. Oh my god, Princess.
Emu something.
Uh,
Emu her. Let me.
Princess. Ilran or something like that. Ireland, Princess Ireland or whatever.
Ireland.
His decision to marry her is strictly business, right?
Mhm.
But and that's why he tells her even before then, like there is a change in him, but like he loves her, but he's doing this because it's the only way. Like he talks about seeing the future and everything like that. I see a narrow way. He's committing to this narrow way. And he decides to become this Messiah figure. And it's a warning because he's doing this to save the people that he loves. But in reality, he's causing the lives of billions. And it becomes more
Yeah.
about vengeance for him and power, and how that plays into the third book and movie is interesting. And you could hear in the theater that audible like like that when he says, like, after he says, I will love you as long as I breathe, or whatever he says. What is it?
Mhm.
I've only seen the movie
Oh,
once. I
yeah,
will
I
love
love
you.
you as long as I'm breathing, something like that.
Yeah, I will love you for as long as I'm breathing. And he tells her that. And I've heard some people say, like, oh, when he says that, he says it lifelessly. And I'm like, no. When he says
Oh,
it,
thank
he
you.
says it, yeah, he says it like he did the first time. But the reason he's telling her that is because he's what he's about to do.
I know. In the theater, the theater was great. It was a great theater moment. Everybody in the
Just
theater and like in Zendaya's face was like, "What?"
oh,
And everyone was like,
dude.
"Oh
Yeah.
shit!" Like
Yeah.
everyone was like, "Oh god."
And
So
the
it
way
was
the
a
movie
great little
ends
moment.
too, with that score, and then him saying, send them to paradise, which is like, kill them. And I'm skipping over a bunch of stuff here, but it's just because the ending of this movie, it reminded me so much of, like, I think it's Godfather 1 or 2, when you see the door shut.
Yeah, one.
1, yeah, when you see the door
Yeah.
shut,
Hmm.
this is it, that ending, where, like, he looks, there's,
That
again,
is a
with
great
no
ending. That's one
words.
of my favorite scenes of all time. Yeah, I agree. That
Yeah,
is like that.
it's so great. It's so great, and the score playing, and, like, no one has to say a word, and you could tell she's pissed, but you could tell, like, she's, like, up, like, in the book, she still stands by him. In the movie, they make a difference. She leaves out of frustration, and I think that's going to play
Mhm.
into the third book, because she's obviously a big part of the third book, or not the third book, the second book, third movie, and I am so excited for how that's going to be handled. And they do a lot of stuff with Zendaya's character, and we can kind of transition into what you want to talk about. How they make subtle changes with Chani, where in the book she believes he is the Kwisatz Haderach. In the movie, she does not. She doesn't believe in that stuff, and I think it adds much more to her character. And the same thing when he drinks the stuff and he dies. In this, she has the voice used on her to do that. But in the book, she does it willingly.
Oh, really?
So there's some subtle
Yeah, I mean, it
differences.
makes me excited. It makes me want to read the book. I wonder. I'm trying to say I don't do well with audiobooks because it's hard for me to like retain it. I mean, I don't know. I've been going on a lot of walks lately, so maybe that's a good time to like zone in and listen. I get
Yeah,
distracted too easily
it's
when
a
I'm
good
listening to it.
audiobook. That's how because like I said, I struggle with reading books, mostly because dyslexic. It takes me a long time to commit to a book, because it takes me several times to get all the information in.
Yeah.
Um, but with audiobooks, it's fine. But I'm much like you. Even sometimes with audiobooks, I struggle to get everything in. But I know I just talked about a lot there. But that's like the big thing that stood out to me, is how that was handled. And I wondered how the audience was going to, like, react to his pseudo hill turn,
Mhm.
his his turn to the dark side, his Anakin moment, if you will, because he's much more
Yeah, I
Anakin than he
mean,
is
I think it
Luke.
was handled great. I think it was written well. I think it was performed even better. I think I mean, it was awesome. It was very cool. I mean, there's also the Harkonnen grandson type of
Mm-hmm.
moment. There was just a lot of like, I know people are drawing a lot of ties to Empire, but there, I mean, like, there was just several like infamous, like that'll be a moment for ever,
Yeah.
iconic cinema moment. And I love that like certain things like when he I love the response it got out of Zendaya. That's all I was going to talk about Zendaya was the response it got when he was proposing at the end. Zendaya is amazing. That you were talking about Zendaya. I know Euphoria isn't everyone's favorite show. I don't mind it, but there's an episode of Euphoria that the first 15 minutes or so are an intervention, and Zendaya I think is one of the best performances I've ever seen of anybody ever. Any
She's
man, woman,
great.
TV movies, and I think she won the Emmy for. I think they cited this episode after I saw it. It blew my mind how she was unrecognizable. It was amazing. But you were talking about like kind of the biggest women running right now between like you're talking about Zendaya and Florence Pugh. You add a little Anya Taylor Joy in there too. It's like God, you got them all. I mean, you crushing
Yeah.
it.
It's like you got everything, and Anya Taylor Joy is only in this for a
A second,
scene. Like you
yeah,
blink and you miss it, and
just
that's another,
enough.
yeah, just enough. And that's another thing. That's another change from the book. His sister is born. She ages faster. She's the one that actually takes out the Baron.
Oh, cool, interesting.
And this, they decide to not do that, and you have Paul do it instead. And I'm sure, obviously, we will see Anya Taylor Joy in the next movie when that comes out. And what I will say is, going back to that ending, this is not a cliffhanger ending. You could end the story right here, right now, and it'd be fine. I'm curious as to how they will adapt Messiah because it's much
Mm-hmm.
more talky. Like at the end of this, they tease like Paul is starting his holy war, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eh, This Messiah takes place 10 years later, and it's much more talky. And there's some other characters that may have been dead that come back, that sort of thing. We won't talk about spoilers, I don't think, in Messiah, unless you really want me to get into
I
those.
don't at all. No, I don't. I
Okay.
don't know anything about it. I want to.
Okay.
I enjoyed the experience with this one, and wanna, the only
Okay.
thing I've got is
I
84 Dune. That and 84 Dune didn't tell me a lot.
okay. Well, I will not say anything about Messiah, but I'm interested to see how they adapt that. If people will be let down by it, if they're going to be expecting to see the Holy War and don't really. But it is an adaptation, so and he changed things in this, so maybe he can change things there as well. They also take out Leto the second, which was a Chani and Paul's child that dies.
Hmm.
He gets taken out. So, but yeah, most of the spoilers when it comes to this movie revolve around the ending and how it does like a bait and switch where you think you're seeing this guy on his hero's journey, this reluctant hero doesn't want to do it and then finally commits to it. It's kind of the ultimate theme about this movie is it's about the dangers of religion. And I don't think this movie's against religion. It's not at all. I think it's more or less against how religion can be used to manipulate people to do really bad things and the dangers of, no pun intended, getting high on your own supply, which is what Paul does. He
Yeah.
gets high on his own supply and starts believing his own stuff and becomes, I don't want to say it's complicated what he becomes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And
I've got to see it again this week. I need a. It's a dense movie, and I saw it one night, and I was with friends, and I was overtaken by the romance of it all, and the amazing opening night with a packed theater with friends, and 2 beers in, and I want to watch it again and give it a more focus. I want to rewatch one first though again, and
yeah,
really kind of maybe see them back to back. I got to. I mean,
that
I
the romance too, like, man, like, I'm a sucker for big romances like this. Like, I love Han and
mhm.
Leia, I love Jack and Rose in Titanic, I love Ben and Ray in Star Wars, and then you get this, and it's like the reason you feel the way you feel at the end and your heart breaks is because you believe in that romance between Paul and Chani.
Yep.
And it's heartbreaking, but like Paul is doing what he thinks is the right thing. I must become the Kwisatz Haderach or whatever to save my people. Much like Anakin wanted to turn to the dark side to save the ones he loves, right? And it's very much anti-hero. And I love how it's played. I love the part where he tells the Reverend Mother, what's her name? God, I'm never forgetting her name. He tells her, silence. And she goes, oh, abomination. I love it. I love it so much. Charlotte Rampling is the actress. But I love that. Because she's the one who tells him silence. And in a way, too, it's like, I don't want to pull for Paul at this point, but like, I'm also not pulling for the Bene Gesserit either.
Yeah, I know.
And so when they kind of lose, it's like, yes. But then you're like, I don't know. You're like, yeah.
It's good writing.
Yeah. It's great writing. This movie floored me, man. This movie floored me. It was incredible. I know, like, what else would you like to discuss that's spoilerific that stands out to you?
I didn't have anything off the top of my head. I need to see it again. It's been.
Yeah.
Obviously the heel turn was a huge moment. The Harkonnen grandson. I hate that we lost Austin Butler so quick, but at the same time, like I've been saying,
that knife fight
they
was
give you
great.
just enough. I love the acapella aspect of it. No music, they did it with
Just
the
the
challenge in the
grunts.
first one too, I think, but just the just the violence. It was beautifully
Paul
shot.
getting
Sound design is
stabbed.
amazing in this movie.
The only thing that I will say about the fight, I love the fight. How fast they were moving. And again, the whole Austin Butler looking at Chani because Paul looks at Chani. And then he goes, is that your pet? And you just see again the turn in Paul. Like, he clearly still loves Chani. That's his love, but what he's doing to her is beyond messed up. What he does is beyond messed up. But again, just a great performance by Timothée Chalamet right there. And then he gets stabbed like right in the rib, and then he gets stabbed in the shoulder. And he somehow, like, if there's something that I didn't like about it, it's how did he get his knife out and then stab him?
I don't know.
When he kills Ratha, Fade.
I don't know. We were making comparisons outside the theater to Arya Stark and the Night King type of thing. Like
yeah.
I don't know how it happened, but
yeah,
I'll have to watch it again with eagle eyes.
I wish they would have shown that a little bit better,
clear.
A little bit more clear. Yeah, man, I'm tapped out. I'm sure we will be discussing this movie between each other more so because this is the first time we've actually discussed it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go back and see it this week. I'll try to add some more thoughts for maybe for the next episode or so. But it was so much taken. I loved it. I enjoyed every minute of it. It was overwhelming in many ways. But I'm very glad that this property exists and that we've got such capable hands behind on the wheel.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Totally agree.
Does that do it for this week?
That does it for this week, man. What do we got next week?
I don't know.
I think it's Imaginary and Kung Fu Panda 4.
Is that it? Feels like I guess Dune's gonna run the box office for a little while.
I don't know. I wouldn't doubt Kung Fu Panda.
You think?
But Imaginary is going to be one of those movies which I'm sure didn't cost that much to make. It'll make back its
Oh,
budget.
Imaginary. Yeah, that one doesn't.
Yeah, it looks somewhat creepy, but anything that has like a little girl in jeopardy now, I'm just like, doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what we see. I guess that does it for this week, though. Thank you all so much for listening. If you're hearing this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thanks for watching. If you're catching us on YouTube, let us know in the comments down below. What did you think of Dune Part 2? Have you seen it yet? Did you see it on open tonight? Did you get a popcorn bucket? I wish I got a popcorn bucket. We don't have an AMC here anymore. I'm considering. I mean, I'm just trying to feel. I feel like it's going to be a collectible in 20 years. I'm thinking about driving to
I don't know if
Jacksonville to
anyone
the
would want to
AMC
buy
there
one of
and
those
get.
things used.
No, I'm gonna keep it in the wrap. I'm gonna buy two, one for use, one for wrap. Let us know if you got yours and how great it is. With that said, it's been Ben and Walker. We'll see
I
you next
got
time.
mine.